So I've just returned home from Italy, and in this video I want to share some of my favorite images created throughout this trip. This trip was definitely a bit of a different one for me, as I was traveling with a big family group, so usually my sole focus is always photography when I travel, but it did take a bit of a backseat on this trip. I did still take a lot of photos though, pretty much all on the Canon R5 with just 2 prime lenses, both 24 and 50mm, plus just a couple of shots taken on the X Pro 3. As usual, these photos are edited with my presets using the Cinefilm pack on all photos in this one. I hope you enjoy this style of video and some of the images I was able to create. I've got them all on my phone here ready to go, so let's jump in. So although the trip did start off in Rome, I didn't take too many photos here. My family had all been to Rome before, so it was more to recover from our jet lag in 24 hours of traveling. I also had a client deadline due, so it was pretty hectic getting that done before we picked up some cars and we headed down to Sorrento. This one was literally the first frame I took in Sorrento. The sun was hitting this tree at the end of the gorge. I think this is a variety of cypress tree, really beautiful trees you see a lot of in this area. And I just really like this frame, although super backlit. Another one here, which is one of my favorites. The light just half hitting this gentleman and also his position I really like. Next up, I headed down by the water here, which is basically a ferry wharf you walk down to. Really nice place to shoot, and I got some really nice morning light, so I got a few images I was happy with here. Also, a quick shout out to Michelle again. I don't usually like photos of myself, but the light she caught on this one was really nice. And here I also chased down this 3-wheeled truck, which I think are called Umbria. You might see a few of them in this video. This one I snapped off quickly as it drove past, so I didn't have much time to compose. It is quite busy, but it's still nice with this cypress tree in the background. I love how there's 2 people squeezed in there, and these 3 boats line up, just really show this scene down by the water really well. I do love seeing these little trucks all over Italy. I even made my wife buy me a little toy one for my birthday. Best present ever. Thanks, Michelle. From here, we also took a boat for a bit of a day trip to Positano. As we were leaving on the boat, I spotted my favorite truck here. I like how this one turned out. The 2 men giving the truck this scale, showing how small it is, and some really nice light here in the morning. I took a few on the boat ride. I think this one is actually my favorite. It's very candid and a unique angle. It also feels very Italian with this lady, the flag, and the mountains in the background. It was a bit hard to shoot as we were moving and the boat was very full, but there was some nice light. And I like this one of Michelle here as well. Arriving to Positano, it is such a beautiful place, but I really can't imagine being here in summer. It would be so packed with tourists. It was already getting quite busy, but I think this is a really nice time of year to visit. Next up is one of my favorite photos from the day, which is this pretty simple one of this umbrella. I love the contrast of the red against the blue, the shadow created, but also these little boats in the background. It just overall a pretty simple but really beautiful frame in my opinion. I also took a few frames just walking along the water here, as well as walking through the streets as well. Overall, despite the super touristy feel, it was a great place to visit, and I could have definitely spent more time here taking photos. Not sure how this one made the cut, just joking, couldn't leave it out. So back in Sorrento, also really touristy here, and these little alleyways where there's lots of shops were really beautiful when the sunlight was hitting it, but quite hard to capture when it was so busy. This one I really did like though. Just a gap in the people walking through, I was able to capture someone more singular, which is always nice. Again, I really like this nice patch of light on these old buildings as well, and of course with a scooter, which is quite iconic for this area because you just see them everywhere. We did also visit Pompeii. I didn't really take too many photos here, but just found it so incredible and so interesting to visit. After Sorrento, we drove back up to more central Italy and stayed in Umbria, just outside a beautiful little village called Todi. The house we stayed at here had this epic view of Todi up on the hill, and the village itself was quite small and quiet, but I really enjoyed walking around here. The old narrow streets provide these nice pockets of light throughout the village. Although I usually like shooting when it was quiet, some of these parts were almost too quiet, especially as it shuts down for most of the day. So it was rare to find people in these patches of light, and sometimes I made Michelle jump in. I also like these two iconic Italian vehicles just on the edge of the city here with another cypress tree in the background. Again, a frame I quite like. This one was taken back at the house, and I won't share any other family snaps, but this one was a real favorite. It was quite a special afternoon as the sun went down. We sung and danced like idiots, so perhaps this one may be more of an emotional attachment to it. In Umbria, we also explored another city called Perugia. It is a really old town as well, but definitely one that's a little bit bigger. We had lunch here and wandered around for a few hours. I really enjoyed my time here. I didn't catch too many of them, but there was lots of well-dressed people here going about their business as well. A place I would definitely have liked to stay a bit longer and create some more images. These ones here shot at two different angles of these people just enjoying their coffee in the sunlight, which was a really nice moment to capture. Of course, I snapped a few of this older car, which I originally thought was a Fiat, but on closer inspection, it definitely isn't. I also found this dog wearing a watch, which was super cute. I didn't get a great shot of it, but still enjoyed it. In my head, I just imagined the owner telling them to be back by 4 o'clock and the dog checking its watch. So the next place we explored in Umbria was called Civita. Now this is an incredible little old medieval village kind of nestled up on this hill, and sadly it's actually eroding away. But honestly, one of the most stunning places I've visited. You have to walk in taking this large footbridge to get up to the village, and literally all the supplies are brought in by little vehicles over this bridge as well. So just wandering around here was pretty special, and it made me a bit sad for the fate of it in the future, as most of this town has already left, but it really is a stunning place to visit. Again, found one of my trucks, and we also had probably one of my favorite meals of the trip. This pistachio pasta I had was seriously unreal. So it was time to move on from the Umbria area. Now, I hadn't been here before, but I can highly recommend it. Everywhere we visited was really special, and it's also quite close to Rome, so a really nice place to visit. So next we moved on to Tuscany, and we stayed just outside another beautiful little village called Anghiari. Again, it was just a wonderful place to wander around these charming older streets. Also some really amazing food here. From the photos, you might feel like many of these towns feel similar, but they really do often have their own unique feel as well. And you guessed it, another town, another truck. So from here we drove to our next location, which was Panzano. This is a little town that's quite famous for a mad butcher. I didn't get any photos of him, unfortunately, but it will cost you €2 if you want a photo with him. But his restaurant's really great, and it was a really nice place to stay as well. This was mostly as our base, so not too many photos here in Panzano, but I found this Italian cyclist very fitting, so I had to take a snap. From here, we did also catch the bus to Florence for a bit of a day trip. Now, although Florence is a beautiful city and I love it there, by the time we arrived, it was already so packed. So in terms of photography, I'm definitely less motivated to shoot in these conditions when it's super crowded with big tourist groups. But still, I just kind of took less photos and enjoyed the day here. I really like this waiter coming out of the restaurant into the light, but I also like this one where this couple, I think they were actually having a DM, but the light on them was real nice, so I couldn't resist. So on to our second last stop of the trip, which we drove up to Lake Garda, another place I haven't visited before. This is where I posted my last video from, so I won't show too many images here, but it really is a beautiful spot. I'm just glad I got out early both days. It's also super crowded. I can't imagine it in summer. Definitely, since I went out with the intention of making a video here, I probably actually took more photos here than anywhere else. Again, finding these nice patches of light. This one, I really like the composition here, and this next one I also really like with the castle in the background. This one with the umbrella just peeping around the corner as well keeps some mystery to the photo, and creating this big shadow is another one of my favorites. Getting up early here, there was some really nice light down by the water, which I liked as well. Again, as mentioned, just a stunning place to visit. To conclude this one, we headed to Venice, which is where we would fly home from. And I did actually make a full video here, so I won't share too many photos in this video. But Venice is such an amazing place to visit. Again, I really recommend going out exploring early in the morning because it gets so busy. You really see the city in a different way as well. Also really worth getting on a boat if you can. I wish I had a bit more time, and I would probably go out to some of the other islands here as well. I also celebrated my birthday in Venice and drank spritz the size of my head. Lots of fun. It was also a great day because I got my truck. So I hope you did enjoy this one. Again, a bit of a different video as I didn't really take any video footage on this trip, but I did film a video in Venice, so I'll be sharing that next week, shooting some street photography, comparing a few different lenses. So keep on creating and keep on growing, my friends. I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.